Hey, it's Paul with RockOutfitters.com, here to show you the Thule T2 Classic. This is a hitch-mounted platform bicycle carrier, and we're going to take it from box to fully assembled and talk about it a little bit as we go. So I'm going to do some unpacking. This is what you can expect when you receive delivery. There's no outer carton or anything. It just comes in a ready-to-ship box as you see it. This is the beginning of a... We put the box inside the box to make it give you a platform to kind of support the items as you're working on them. So we have here the two main trays, and then here we have the hitch assembly. So we're going to start with the hitch assembly, and we'll get that opened. The hitch assembly is very heavy duty. And it comes, as you see it here, it's actually flipped over on itself. So come over to the bench, and we're going to go through all of these bolts. I'm using 3/4 inch socket and wrench. They're very heavy duty bolts. As we have it apart here, you can see that it's using very hefty bolts and nuts. Also brass inserts, which make for long-lasting pivot area. So now, even though this bolt's not going to be removed, we're going to loosen it, because from the factory those bolts are indiscriminately tightened. So one might be at one torque setting and the other might be at a different torque. We want to start them all loose and then bring them up to the torque setting that we like. Okay, so now with them all loose, it also makes flipping this very easy. So it's reoriented as it should be. Those are loose. Got the bolt with the washer. Do it the same way the other ones are here, in the same direction. And just get that aligned, push through, next washer, and your bolt, nut. And that nut is a nylock nut. You can see the white nylon that's inside that nut, and that is there for the purpose of stopping the nut from vibrating loose or loosening on its own. It provides grip to the threads and helps it so that it's less maintenance. So now from here on, we're going to use this display. This is, you can think of this as your hitch, and that's really the best way to go about it, is assemble it onto your hitch. We're going to assemble it onto this display, which is essentially the same thing. So you got your hole here. This is important to notice, by the way. Inside, through that hole, you have threads, and a bolt is supplied that's going to thread to that. So the bolt is going to go through your hitch into that nut. And when it's in that nut, it will tighten it to your inside your hitch for an anti-wobble performance. So I'm going to grab all the other hardware bags, get those unpacked. I'm using our own tools. However, they do include tools for you to do the assembly. Of course, if you have your own, it makes it easier. Obviously, those are just simple tools that might not be as strong as purchased tools. Okay, so let's go ahead and get, this is your hitch bolt. You just, first goes your lock washer and then your flat washer, and now we'll take that and insert it through the aligned holes. Use your hitch bolt as a feeler to find the hole. Okay, once you find the hole, thread that by hand as far as you can. That ensures that you're going through the correct path. Sometimes if you use a wrench too soon, you might cross thread it and not have the sensitivity to know that you're cross threading it until it's too late. So now you get that on tight, and there you go. Next, we want to focus back on these bolts here. They're still very loose, but we want to go ahead and even the tightness up on all of these bolts. You can do it with a torque wrench if you have one and get it precise, but that's really not exactly necessary. You can just do it by feel. and get it snug, taking the slack out and then give it a little bit more of a turn there. The idea is that you got them pretty darn close to one another, far better than the way they come out of the box, which they're all totally indiscriminately tightened. So then you just kind of give it a feel, make sure it operates smoothly, which it does. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it in the up position. And at the top of this tube, you're going to see there's a small little screw there with a Phillips head. And we're going to go ahead and take that out. That is a safety screw that stops your platform trays from inadvertently sliding off in odd conditions. If some type of situation comes up where they can vibrate. So it'll make it a lot easier just to take your tray. So we have the two trays here that we set aside originally. You just want to identify the two trays because there is two different directions of the trays. So you'll have this tray, which has the wheel holder on the that would be the passenger side. That would go on first, and you can reference your manual and see it here where you have the stinger, and then you come out and then you'll have your front wheel holder, rear wheel holder, and it's opposite on the outer position. So you can use that as a reference. Now I'm going to set up my drill again for a 5mm hex, and I'm going to go and loosen all these. These are all tightened at the factory so that they don't just vibrate loose and fall off inside the box and get lost. So you got to go through. And what I'm doing is I'm putting my finger behind underneath the nut, and I'm loosening these up to where it's a little bit is flush with the nut. So I know they're all evenly loosened. I don't want to take them off completely. That just will slow you down. Okay, so next, here's the other thing you should look at. You've got this sticker that's at the front. That's your sticker to help you get everything centered. And so I'm just going to place that indicator right in the middle. That's your neutral position. And then, let's see if we can get that slid on there. Up on something. There it goes. Okay. Now, so we'll bring this back. Key thing here is make sure that this gateway, this slot that's out, and the end of this adjustment plate don't overlap. I'd keep it about a 1/4 inch away from each other. You want to use as much of the space you have, but you never want to overlap those two. Then we'll go through and tighten these up. You want to do it in a kind of a crisscross fashion. Idea is getting all of them about the same amount of depth and tightness. So I'll do it with, I'll go back later with a tool and to where I'll have better feel for it. Okay, so that's one of them. Let's go and do the second one. Same thing, just in reverse. You can see how if you have a drill attachment like this, it can certainly speed up your assembly and installation. Not at all required, just something that we like to use to speed things up and get the job done quicker. The rack actually comes with all the necessary tools to do this. There we go. Okay, now as far as the distance between these two, we like to just get a position to where the handle is nearly flush with the end of the tray and there's no overlap. So that's about where you want it. And then again, in the neutral position. That can also always be changed to where you bring this indicator here or this indicator here to offset the two trays from each other if need be. And then we'll do the same thing. Do a crisscross. fashion. Okay. All right, so those are all set. Now I'm going to bring it to the stowed position. Switch out my drill. And I'm going to reinstall that little safety. There we go. Okay, and what you may see here, I'm covering up that hole right there. There's a hole here and also a hole here. This is the 2-inch version, which can accommodate a 2-bike extension to it. And so that hole would be used to connect the second add-on for it. So right now we don't need it. If you had to use it, then you could do that later and readjust them to accommodate that. But this is a good setup as it is. Okay, I'm going to actually keep it in that position. Next we're going to put on the wheel holders. Wheel holders hang out beyond the tray a little bit, just so if you follow that, then you'll have them on in the correct direction. I'm going to change out my fitting on my drill again. And this is a 1/2 inch. So far we've used 3/4 inch, and we'll be using 1/2 inch. So those tools are already here for you. But again, I'm using the drill to make it faster. Okay, so these are self-tapping screws, and all you got to do is just get them started. I'm going to lower my torque on this so you don't go too tight. And get the other one. Let's get it started by hand. Always a good rule of thumb. There we go. Hello. There. Okay, so lastly we're going to go through and install our locks. So we have a hitch lock right here. It comes out of the package just as your cylinder with 2 keys, an install key, and by the way, there's a little plug right there. We're going to take that out. That's purely just for packaging and shipping so that the inner mechanism doesn't rotate out of position. So I inserted the install key into the cylinder. It aligned all these tumblers in a row, and I'm just going to drop it in like that, hold it with my thumb, and pull that out. Now, if you insert the key, nothing happens until you take out that. This can be discarded, that's trash. And now it's going to be your functioning lock. So down here at your hitch bolt, you'll just insert that onto the end, turn the key, and then close your dust cover. And then if anyone tries to loosen this bolt, it'll loosen the rack, but it won't allow the rack to detach from your hitch. They also include these little plugs right here. You have the option to add more lock cylinders to these handles right here. So what happens, this handle ratchets down and grips to the front tire of your bike, and if you insert one of those lock cylinders into this, it'll prevent this release lever from releasing until it's in the unlocked position. So as it is now, those are not included, so you just insert these plugs just so that it has a nice finished look to it, and same thing on this side. Okay, so those are all the steps in the assembly of the T2 Classic, and we'll also be following up. Look for more videos on the full operation and installation onto a vehicle, bicycle loading, unloading. This is a supplement to the instructions that are included. Of course, always follow these instructions and read all the safety warnings, Hopefully this has been helpful to you, just to give you some tips in the general assembly of the T2 Classic. I'm Paul with Rack Outfitters. Thanks for watching.